Makakausap natin sa puntong ito isang nanay, isang political activist, isang poet, isang writer, isang abogada, isang komentarista, Attorney Trixie Angeles.
Magandang umaga.
Attorney Trixie, on one hand, ang Pilipino nakikipagpatayan para sa eleksyon.
Yes.
On one hand, ang Pilipino, bawal hikayatin yung asawa mo, magiging ground, nang lumipat ang partido, magiging ground for legal separation, di ba?
Correct.
On the other hand, we're willing to sell our votes. Pakipaliwanag nga po.
Well, ganito yan, ano? Ang gaya nga nung sinabi natin kanina, ang electoral exercise, this is where nakaka-participate lahat ng taong bayan. Whether sa boto nyo lang, or sa rejection mo ng sarili mong boto, o yung partisan politics talaga. So makikita mo, may mga team ganito, team ganyan. Tapos, contest siya. So it's like a national intramurals where everybody is participating, whether player ka o cheerleader ka, meron kang participation. Plus, of course, it doesn't hurt na merong money machine dyan, no? So, ang mo, may bayad pa, so may bonus pa yan. So you have the youth vote, may mga college students on summer vacation na tumutulong sa mga kandidato, may mga out of school na mga nanay na tumutulong dun sa ano. So, tapos nag-identify sila dun sa nag-hire sa kanila. So nagiging manok namin to at manok ninyo yan. So in this sense na masaya, no, in that. And then, there's of course, yung tinatawag na, meron pa rin namang vote buying. And of course, attendant to that, meron ding mga political dynasties. And then, there's also yung electoral harassment. So, lahat ito, they're all of a piece.
So, itong dynasties, itong political harassment, itong vote buying, may kinalaman sa pera, Attorney Trixie. Pero kung tutusin, the amount of money that they get for the regular pay ay napakababa. Yung mga senador nga daw po, ang sinabi 90,000. Yung mga mas mababa pa dyan. Kung maayos nga ng ating administrasyon yung problema sa korupsyon, do you think the Philippine elections will still be as festive, will still be as grand as it is now?
Kung maayos ang corruption. Kasi kung maayos yung corruption, walang ibibigay para sa vote buying. At hindi ganito nga parang malapiesta yung nagiging electoral exercise. Magiging para na tayo. Ito yung tanong, no? Kasi this is election Philippine style. Anything, parang ito yung tinatawag natin na indigenization.
Right.
We take in a foreign concept, tapos gagawin nating Pilipino. For example, ang classic example nito yung Catholicism
yung
natin.
Yung mga fiesta natin.
Correct. Meron mga dito lang sa Pilipinas, ang Catholicism natin, may kasamang, ang plata natin sa rosaryo, parang amulet.
Right.
Diba? So, ganun din ang electoral exercise natin. Ginagawang nating Philippine style. So this is not necessarily a bad thing, except na meron tayong particular rules that prevent, for example, vote buying.
Nabanggit mo, Attorney Trixie, that it's we're very clannish, we vote because we have been, as a nation state, ang konsepto natin, pamilya, yung ating aggregation. Pero we've been observing yung contra-political dynasty, we're actually seeing magkakapamilya naglalaban-laban. Classic example, Camarines area, Lolo versus the Apo. Lolo versus, meaning may mga ganyang nangyayari. You think yung problema ng political dynasty will actually disintegrate by itself even without legislation simply because lumalaki yung pamilya, mag-aaway-aaway sila-sila?
Well, I don't think that it's more yung mga lolo and yung intra-family feuds. I think that in the long run, sila din magbe-benefit. Kasi kahit sino manalo doon, ganun pa rin yung surname na mananalo. So, that's not exactly a good thing. We don't see it as a good thing. The bad part about it is that it's a same old. Same old trapo mentality, same old family name, same old. And you don't get any new blood dun sa leadership natin. Walang mga bago. Kaya yung creativity levels, dun sa, let's say sa national legislature, kukonti yung level of people who are willing to experiment or willing to take bolder steps. Kasi kailangan within that proper framework.
If you are not going to legislate against it, which is very mahirap nga po i-legislate against that, although meron tayong constitutional provision. I'm thinking of two reasons kung paano natin mabubuwag. Strengthen the political party and have an a factor that could equalize it. For example, itong social media. Pag-usapan muna natin itong social media. Naging aktibo yung Pilipino nito, linalabanan yung ilang kandidato, tinitira yung ilang kandidato, and yet, contrary to what you read on Facebook and Twitter, surveys are saying something different. Anong tingin mong epekto ng social media ngayon doon sa ating voter mentality?
This was very well pronounced noong 2010. Probably a little less ngayon. So nakikita natin may development. Noong 2010, ang number of Facebook users went from 9 million to 13 million. Ngayon, nadagdagan ng another 3 million. How many of those are real accounts? We're not sure because meron
How many are those are registered?
Correct. How many are trolls? So, may discrepancy pa. May tinatawag na great divide of the number of people who are aware and conscious and educated and capable of using itong social media. How many pa nga dito sa Pilipinas ang wired? Yun ang tanong. So, while the average high school student in public school is aware of the computer, knows how it works, knows how the internet works, their capacity to use it is also limited. So, nakikita natin, primarily ang gumagamit ng social media are middle class. So,
pero nakikita nyo ba, as penetration of social media increases,
Yes.
magkakaroon ba talaga ito ng yung factor that could equalize and democratize yung social media itself?
Yes. Ultimately. Pero right now, nakikita natin na baby steps pa lang going in that direction. Of course, maraming mga social media marketers, no, who will convince na kaya namin on Facebook to turn the tide in your favor. Perhaps they can do that with a particular class of people, yung mga wired nga na people.
Okay.
How that will translate into the general votes, titignan natin for 2013 kung paano nagbago siya.
Titingnan po natin ngayong 2013, titingnan natin ngayong araw na ito, makikita po natin base sa resulta ng eleksyon na ito, kung yung mga tinitira sa Facebook, mananalo pa rin ba o matatalo? Yung mga pinopromote ng todo-todo sa Facebook ay mananalo o matatalo. Siyempre, go out and vote. Wala pong epekto yan kung hindi po tayo bumoto. Magbabalik po ang hatol ng bayan, dyan lamang po kayo. Thank you, Princess. Sa po ito, Attorney Trixie Angeles, kasama pa rin po natin, but we are joined by Dean Edna Ho ng UP. Magandang umaga po, Dean.
Magandang umaga, Mark and Attorney Trixie. So,
Dean.
magandang umaga sa lahat.
Nagsisimula na po ang eleksyon. Kumpara lang na 2010 elections, there was a huge question on whether the automated elections will work. Sa tingin niyo po ba napawi na yon at there is a degree of trust or malaking degree of trust, well, technical glitches aside, dito sa mga PCOS machines na ito?
I think understandable na nung 2010, ang daming mga worries and concerns, pagdududa kung mag-work yung PCOS machines. Pero tingin ko ngayong 2013, nabawasan yung mga pagdududa at pag-aalinlangan tungkol sa PCOS machines, although hindi mawawala at kahit naman sa ang bansa na merong automated election, lagi at parating lalabas yung mga tanong tungkol sa pagdududa, andun pa rin yung problema tungkol sa glitches, but these are natural things that take place. Kahit saan may ganitong problema. So, palagay ko, compared to 2010, mas may trust ngayon ang mga tao sa ating machine.
Attorney Trixie, you caught our interview earlier with Mr. Flores ng Smartmatic.
Yes.
At nabanggit nga niya, na-train na ng COMELEC, ng Smartmatic, yung COMELEC personnel. Do you trust that our technical people can make this PCOS machines work?
Like, I have to tread carefully. Hirap sumagot. Now, do we trust the to take care of the technical glitches? We have to, wala naman tayong choice. The entire electoral system is based on trust. The proof is in the pudding. Kumbaga, we will see how it turns out today, whether or not that trust is earned. Or, for example, in 2010, merong mga serious issues that we raised as election lawyers at the time. There were certain issues that we raised regarding the time of transmittal.
Right.
So, kunwari, tapos na yung bilangan dun sa isa, tapos na, sarado na ang presinto, yung transmittal niya to the main center, let's say sa City Hall.
Doon magkakatalo.
Doon magkakatalo.
Pero Attorney Trixie, we're getting reports of some PCOS machines not working. Pakipaliwanag nga base sa election laws, ano? Kasi posibleng may isang machine hindi gagana, dalawa, tatlo, or even 10. But compare this to 1,000 others that have been working. Ano po ba talaga when you say there's failure of elections? Can you explain that concept, that legal concept?
Well, ang failure of elections is when an incident happens so that there is no certainty as to the outcome of the electoral exercise. Now, meron mga tinatawag na acceptable margin of error in some cases. But the bottom line here is, according to the Constitution, you have a political right to vote. is taken away from you, whether it is through a technical glitch or not, may right ka na questionin pa rin yung outcome.
Okay.
So, but in the end, meron tinatawag dito na balancing of interest.
Right.
Diba?
Correct.
Kaya ba natin ulitin yan?
Oo. So, ibig sabihin kung merong 200,000 votes dito sa isang lugar, at halimbawa 10 PCOS machines with 1,000 votes, each 10,000 hindi makaka-apekto sa resulta, okay lang yun. Anong tingin mo, Attorney Edna, naiintindihan ba, Dean Edna po pala, sorry, naiintindihan po ba ng ating taong bayan yun? Because we're getting reports, 1 or 2 machines not working. Naiintindihan ba nila na yung isang machine na yun ay ilang libo lang yun or ilang daan lamang yun kumpara sa ilang daang libong botante na dapat ay mabilang?
I think our system, no, particularly the COMELEC, which is the it's the electoral administration body, continues to look into the problems ng mga technical glitches. I don't think ito ay dapat pabayaan, at sa aking obserbasyon at nakikita, talaga namang they break their brains and really think kung paano i-address yung mga technical issues na ito. But on the whole, ang tingnan din natin sa hanay ng mga kababayan natin, will 10 out of 1,000 machine make a difference? Siguro in very, very close fight, kung hindi nag-work ang 10% or 10 machines out of 1,000, medyo may ano yon, may kinalaman. Subalit on the whole, sabi nga ni Attorney Trixie, election is not just about the machine. Election is about the trust that we put in a political exercise. So, sa aking palagay, whether may glitches yung machine or not, andun yung will ng mga tao na i-address yung technical glitches, andun yung will ng mga botante na ipagpatuloy na mag-cast pa rin ng votes nila, sapagkat this is what election is all about.
Ito, speaking of trust, Dean Edna, dahil hindi pa rin po natin maalis yung kaugalian siguro ng Pilipino voter na pag pumunta sa patayan, pumunta yan sa binyag, pumunta sa kasal, yung politiko na yan, mabait yan, mabuting tao yan. Yung pagiging mabuting tao is a good thing, we're not saying that's bad, pero yung pagiging magaling na official, pagiging magaling na mayor, paano natin maituturo yun na hindi lamang kung mabait, okay na yun, kailangan magaling din.
Actually, kung titingnan natin ang pagpili ng ating iboboto, sa akin, it goes beyond the 3 months campaign. Lampas yan doon. Kasi nga, nakikita natin yung kabaitan, kagandahan, yung presence and visibility ng candidates nakikita sa panahon ng kampanya. Subalit, kung ako yung tatanungin, balikan natin yung nakaraang 3 years niya. Balikan natin yung nakaraang 6 years niya. Ano ba yung ginawa niya? Ano ba yung, what did he or she stand for? So, ito mahalaga ito Ito yung sinasabi mo na andyan yung character ng tao, yung consistency, yung pagtayo sa kanyang mga prinsipyo na pinaniniwalaan. Andun din yung, syempre yung kahusayan. Andun nga siya for 6 years, pero ni isang bill wala namang naipasa or na-sponsor. So, ito yung kahusayan. So, lahat po ito, parang ang tawag natin, kinakalibrate natin sa panahon ng election. Tinitingnan natin yung character, yung competency, yung kahusayan, yung consistency. Siguro pwede kang maglagay ng codes. Consistency, competency, di ba? Character ng tao.
CCC, okay.
CCC.
Pero sa dami ng ating batayan, ang hinahanap na characteristics, Attorney Trixie, unlike before the internet, ngayon ang dami mong sources of information. Sa tingin niyo po ba, lumalabas yung iba pang issue, aside from yung talagang pure impression as to itsura, as to yung kung anumang credential meron sila?
Actually, dadagdagan ko yung isang C ni Ma'am. Communication. The ability to tell your story. Kasi pagdating na ng election period, yan na yung storytelling capacity na. So nakikita natin, for example, on a larger scale, we like a good versus evil story.
Right.
So we like a warrior context, battleground. Parating ganun yung storyline na napipili natin. And the person with the best ability to communicate his best asset to show off the ideal that the voters are looking for, yun ang usually nananalo. Diyan yung persuasive aspect.
Correct.
Kaya minsan, nagfe-fail. Yung magaling ka nga, marami na bills or laws or you're a good leader, pero in the end, the thing dun sa electoral exercise, magkikick in yung last C.
That's right, communication. Pero nito nagtataka lang ako din, Edna, no? Dahil nabanggit niya Attorney Trixie, yung warrior, yung achiever, anti-corruption, anti-crime, anti-. Pero, pag napansin niyo po yung kanilang mga poster, papugihan pa rin po talaga. Talaga yung picture nilang pinaka-matinee idol look-alike sila. Yun pa rin po ang nilalabas. How does this sit with yung hinahanap nga nating anti-corruption, anti-crime? Pagkita mo sa poster, napaka-pupugi.
Kasi ito yung part pa rin nung sinasabi na sa election, sa campaign period, you have to sell yourself, di ba? So yung the best Photoshop, maybe, kailangan lumabas yon, di ba? So lahat yun bahagi ng kampanya eh. So yung projection ng sarili, this is all part of the campaign strategy. Yung visibility, bahagi siya, no? So I think this is normal. Bahagi yan ng marketing sa panahon ng election. Subalit ang sinasabi ko nga, let's go beyond that also.
Right.
Maging mapanuri tayo. Lalo na ngayon, Mark, yung probably in 2010, masyadong pronounced yung mga differences ng kandidato. Pero ngayong 2013, ang hirap,
Okay.
ano? Kasi parang halos pare-pareho rin ng
Pronounce ang
sinasabi.
differences. Dati ngayon, medyo pare-pareho. Medyo pati yung itsura, pagka-photoshop sa kanila, medyo pare-pareho. Tuloy-tuloy po yung utahan natin, kwentuhan natin with Dean Edna and Attorney Trixie. Send me your comments through Twitter or Facebook. I'm live now. Maraming salamat, Princess. Kasama pa rin natin si Dean Edna at si Attorney Trixie. Good news coming out of Lanao del Sur, Attorney Trixie.
Very disciplined voting. Or, yeah, it's good news only because of the context of history. But it's something that we should really be expecting from now on. In fact, nakikita pa natin mas magulo in highly urbanized areas.
That's right.
Pagka matindi yung electoral contest. But this is, well, it's good news always.
Oo, alam po natin yung ARMM has traditionally been yung hotspot pagdating ng eleksyon. Pero you think yung general registration na naganap na in the desire of COMELEC or our government to clean up yung voters list, nag-general registration, sa tingin niyo po ba malaking epekto ito doon sa nagaganap ng mukhang magandang daloy ng eleksyon ngayon?
Certainly, Attorney Mark, kasi palagay ko yun yung the correct beginning, yung cleaning up the voters registration list. It's a good step in the first place. At that also sent the signal kasi na we want to have some change in the way we do election in the ARMM. So palagay ko yung mensahe na yon mukhang nagkakaroon ng effect sa ating mga botante. Gusto ko ring sabihin, I'm impressed at how we are trying to monitor and zoom in our monitoring in the ARMM. Kasi ito din yung isang magandang naiipakita natin na in a very, what was traditionally known as hotspots area, ito yung talagang, ibig sabihin, binibigyan natin ng pansin, na magkaroon ng pagbabago at saka magkaroon positive development para ma-correct yung dating practices sa election.
Dean Edna, napansin, banggitin ko lang, Dean Edna, meron ka ng indelible ink sa iyong finger. Ibig sabihin, nakaboto na si Dean Edna ko, hindi pa po kami bumoboto. After the coverage, I'm going straight to my polling center. Kumusta po yung inyong experience at nabilang naman po ng pikos agad yung iyong balota?
Binantayan ko, talagang positive. Nakita ko sa machine na sinabi niya, congratulations, your vote has been counted. My vote is number 34. So, ibig sabihin, as of 8 o'clock this morning, when I went to the precinct, pang 34 na botante na ako. So, generally, sa aking presinto sa Quezon City was peaceful, it was quiet, and the voters, credit natin ito sa voters, napaka-patient nila. They were queuing. I should think though that pwedeng i-improve pa yung speed ng pagpapapasok sa botante kasi may room na medyo may bakanting upuan. So we could do better there. But I think on the whole, people are also so eager to vote. Punong-puno yung mga precinct naka-line up ang mga sasakyan, ang daming taong bumoboto, talaga naghihintay with all their patience. And sana naman ganito yung atmosphere hanggang sa magsara ang ating mga presinto.
That's right. Unlike other countries, Attorney Trixie, na meron tayong tinatawag na electoral college na sila lamang o kukunting mga individual ang bumoboto ng national leader. Sa atin, lahat tayo bumoboto, mayaman at mahirap. At ang maganda doon, mayaman at mahirap pupunta doon sa elementary school in the heat of the day at pipila. How good is this?
Well, this is democracy in action, diba? So, if we want to be a democratic country, then of course it's a good thing. But iniisip ko kanina yung sa Mindanao, na sinasabi niya na may effect yung registration dito sa voter turnout.
Attorney Trixie, I'm sorry, tuloy natin yung discussion natin on voting in Lanao and other topics. Puntahan po muna natin ang ating kasamang si Elena Luna. Bumoboto na po ang ating Pangulo.
Pag-isip, pakinggan, pumasok kita mo. Central Ado Carrera. Pinauna muna ni yung itong sa loob. Nakita na nating lumabas ang kanyang ate na si Balsi Aquino Cruz, ang anak ni na si John T. At pati na rin si Pinky Aquino Abellada. Bumoto na rin ang brother-in-law ni Pangulong Aquino na si Manuel Abellada at pati na rin ang pamangkin niyang nasa loob pa ang pamangkin niyang si Chigi Cruz at ang isa pa niyang brother-in-law na si Eldon Cruz. Si Pangulong Aquino ay nakapot kaliwa dun sa pang-apat dun sa kasi ang rows na to ay tatlo. Merong 4, may 3, tapos may 3 siya. Doon inoccupy niya yung pangatlong, yung row na pang-apat siya. Tapos bukod doon, inaantayan naman siya ng kanyang mga kapamilya dito sa labas ng Precinct 175. At tinatayang magiging mabilis din lang to, katulad ng naging pagboto ng kanyang ate, ng kanyang dalawang ate. Attorney Mark?
At kasama Elena, napanood po natin ilang mga larawan ng Pangulong, pumipila nga po doon sa Tarlac po niya yung kanyang sister at yung kanyang brother-in-law. At kasama pa rin po natin si Attorney Trixie at si Dean Edna. And Attorney Trixie, you're saying something about Lanao voting doon sa registration na mukhang maganda epekto.
Well, maganda if you look at it in the context of democracy. It's parang nakikita natin parang may social engineering dito. We know that traditionally, ang Mindanao has some kind of command vote because merong traditional system, may leadership, and this system has been in place for a long time. We're not saying it's good or bad. This just is. Ito yung kultura doon. But we're now introducing a new concept na merong kinikilalang mga leaders, but that does not necessarily anymore translate into votes. Nag-a-assert na ngayon yung individuality. This is very Western and very democratic in that sense.
Oo, very Western, very democratic. Balikan ko po muna yung experience ni Dean Edna dahil dito sa panel natin ngayon, siya pa lamang yung nakakaboto. Pero banggitin ko lang po, si former President Erap Estrada ay nasa Padre Burgos Elementary School sa Santa Mesa at para bumoto na po. Kaya yung election sa Manila City between former President Erap at incumbent Mayor Alfredo Lim ay binabalikan po natin dahil first in history din ito, Dean Edna, na former president is running for mayor of a city in the Philippines.
Parang only in the Philippines, where you find a former president now running as mayor in a particular city. Speaking of only in the Philippines, palagay ko napaka-distinct ng ating electoral democracy na talagang sa araw ng eleksyon, we go on a holiday, everybody goes out, it's declared as a national holiday. Sa ibang bansa kasi, hindi naman
normal na araw lamang.
Normal na araw, people go to work, people go to school, and so on. At bumoto sila kung dapat bumoto. Pero sa atin, binibigyang pansin talaga at importansya yung pagboto.
Correct.
So sa akin, this is really one way of saying, at least Philippines were proud to have democracy by suffrage, by election. Ang isa pa rin na only in the Philippines, talagang everybody really goes upbeat, yung talagang tuwang-tuwa, nag-observe, lahat ng tao nakapokus dyan. buong bayan talagang nakatutok sa election.
Meron kang former president only in the Philippines nga po. Pero isa pang fact na ating na-observe ngayon, no, Attorney Trixie, ay meron kang matatandang mga very, very senior politicians. Meron ka din kagaya nila Bam Aquino, nila Sani Angara, sila JC, sila Belica, who are also very, very young. Kaya yung disparity ng edad ay napakalaki. What does this tell you of our political, yung community?
Oh, well, I think nag-assert yung various sectors, no? Of course, it also speaks of a transitional phase where nare-recognize na ng society natin na may problema sa tapo politics. The recognition is the first step towards change. Well, at the same time, the younger candidates, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, because if some of these younger candidates belong to political families, then it's, we're probably going to see more of the same thing. Probably, but not, we're still hoping. And that's what they represent. The youth represents hope. Maybe they'll change, maybe they're not the same.
But we're predominantly a young country. Yung ating mga botante, mas marami pong bata. Sa tingin niyo po, Dean Edna, old versus young, ito at least for the Senate. Ito po sa Camarines Sur, meron pang ang kaso dyan. Okay, hindi Camarines, in the Bicol region, Lolo versus Apo. Anong tingin niyo magiging resulta?
The vibrancy of democracy, yung vibrancy ng lahat ng edad, lahat ng sector, everybody wants to engage in the electoral process. Look at our young people here. Kahit na hindi as candidates, no, nagpapakita sila ng involvement sa panahon ng election. So sa akin, ano to, yung sigla ng bayan para sa isang demokrasya. And I think because we also allow and we also encourage that kind of participation, talagang nakakatuwa. Kahit mga international observers, tuwang-tuwa sila the way that we manifest our engagement in the election. Parang isang natatanging activity ito na napakahusay para sa ating bayan.
Attorney Trixie, isa sa pinagagagastusan ng mga politiko, ito yung mga pulyetos. At they distribute tons of these sheets of paper on election day, at pagpasok nyo po, malamang makakatanggap po kayo ng isang dosena, 2 dosena ang mga pulyeto pinamimigay. Anong dapat gawin natin dito na ito? At kung ikaw ay botante, hindi pa po tayo nakakapunta, Attorney Trixie, anong dapat natin gawin dito sa mga papel na ito?
Recycle. I think, actually, ang kini-question ko na nga yung effectivity ng pamimigay ng mga maliliit na papel na yan. Pero naintindihan ko din na lahat magbibigay, kasi kung isa lang magbigay, may advantage yung isang yon. So lahat sila magbibigay. Pag lahat naman nagbigay, bumababa yung effectivity. At ang nangyayari, maraming trash. So ang request na lang natin is, kung maaari, paki-recycle na lang yung mga pinamimigay na maliliit na papel, at ini-encourage natin yung mga kandidato to encourage the voters and their followers to do the same.
Sa mga hindi pa po nakakapunta ng polling place sa Dean Ed, na makakatanggap nga po sila ng mga ganito, lagi tayong nagre-remind, bring a list with you para mabilis. Ang inyong experience, tell us.
Kaninang umaga, habang papunta ako sa precinct ko, no, I thought more or less, ang isang particular experience ko compared to probably in the past elections, paligay ko ang mga tao natin ngayon, ang mga botante, may idea na sila kung sino yung gustong iboto. Kasi dun sa paligid ng presinto, may mga gustong magbigay ng mga papel, ng polyetos. Pero I noticed of the voters were just turning away the papers. So sa akin, mukhang maganda to, no? Ibig sabihin, yung mga botante, maaaring they have decided kung sino yung kanilang gustong iboto. And secondly, I thought, environmentally speaking, that will discourage also more papers na nakakalat doon sa presinto. And if and when, dahil hindi naman natin pinagbabawal yung pamimigay ng, syempre, within the certain distance, no? Yung sinasabi ni Attorney Trixie, tapon lang ng maayos, which can be recycled. So sa akin, again, that's a changing habit.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Princess. Kasama pa rin po natin, Dean Edna Co at Attorney Trixie Angeles. Pag-usapan po natin ngayon yung ating senatorial elections. Dean Edna, historically, itong ating mga lugar sa Northern Luzon, Ilocos, Pangasinan area, itong Dagupan area, ay isang bloke yan bumoboto dati. Tinatawag po nating Solid North, and it preserved the the rule of former President Marcos. Sa tingin niyo po, factor pa rin po ba? Does that still exist ngayong mga panahon na ito?
Actually, mahirap sabihin sa ngayon kung talagang isang solid north pa rin yung votes na manggagaling dyan sa norte. Sa aking palagay, sa ating obserbasyon, sa tinatakbo ng election campaign, mukhang highly contested ang maraming lugar sa norte. So siguro except for some specific limited areas, siguro dahan-dahang nagbe-break yung tinatawag na norte. So halimbawa, Pangasinan, which is a rich vote area, ang dami nating naririnig sa balita na it's very highly contested. Ibig sabihin, mahirap sabihin na predictable na isang grupo lamang or particular candidates lamang ang posibleng lumabas. I think based din sa ilang bahagi ng norte, andun yung lumilitaw yung mga ilang candidates who show some promises na mukhang malakas at dahil dito nabibiyak yung tinatawag na what is traditionally yung solid north.
That's right. Attorney Trixie, sa ating mga kandidato ngayon, sino ang nakikita mong merong tinatawag na regional bailiwick? Kasi dati, syempre, the Osmeñas are from Cebu. So, naturally, Central Visayas ay teritoryo nila yan. At kung meron tayong Muslim na kandidato, ni former Senator Rasul, Mindanao naman ang kanyang teritoryo. Sa mga tumatakbo ngayon, meron ka bang nakikitang merong regional bailiwick? Or medyo they're more identified with certain issues or even family names?
Of course, mayroong mga tumatakbo na mga dating congressman. So, they can rely on their districts for a solid, more or less solid vote. So, andyan na si Sani Angara. Of course, there's Cheese Escudero, although senador na siya for quite some time. Galing din siya sa Kongreso. So, mayroong mga natural and built-in na vote itong mga to. Other than that, nakikita natin, mga national na yung mga profiles ng mga senador or at yung senatorial candidates. Risa Hontiveros, for example, hindi siya na-identify with a particular region, rather, meron na siyang national profile from the start of her career as a politician.
Itong DNED na mga lumalabas na surveys, halos nagiging medyo consistent yung mga top 10 nila nagkakadeferensya doon sa mga huling mga pwesto. What do these information from the surveys tell you?
Well, in past elections, parang ganun din naman yung trend, no? Yung parang you have consistency doon sa mga, let's say, top 8 or top 10. Minsan may ilang surprises, 1 or 2 surprises na umaakyat at merong ilang bumababa. Pero ang natural tendency talaga, as in other elections in the past, yung contested at saka malikot yung posts between 9 to 12. So yan talaga yung medyo critical at dahil dyan, yan yung talagang, kung mapapansin din natin sa mga text messages na pumapasok sa mga vote, parang pag makikita natin yung messages, ang takbo ng mga campaign ay andun sa mga currently, if you look at the candidates, ito yung nasa posts 9 to 12.
Correct.
Yung lumilitaw. So, ibig sabihin, patuloy yung contest dyan. Although we're saying sa survey, dahil limitado lang naman ang nagpa-participate sa survey, yung position 1 to 8 or 1 to 10, halos consistent. Pero palagay ko, yung survey should not be a determining a barometer para doon. So, malaya pa rin, patuloy pa rin yung pag-hope ng ilan nating kandidato na
At talagang dapat
sila.
maging malaya at hindi tayo magpadikta sa surveys. In previous elections, Attorney Trixie, yung ARMM counted their senatorials votes last at inaantay talaga nilang maging deciding factor doon at least in the last 2 slots dito sa Senado. With the registration doon sa ARMM, the number of voters there shrunk significantly. At pangalawa, with the PICOS elections, sa tingin mo ba, wala na yung factor na yon?
Well, I think we're hoping na wala na yung factor na yun. I don't think any change is going to come overnight. How significant talaga yung inroads with regard to the registration. The massive campaign and the fact that the registrants turned out en masse also definitely will have an effect. What is bothersome is still the late entry of the votes coming in from Mindanao. So dyan nag-bloom yung mga conspiracy theories and the questions about the legitimacy of those votes. So,
Din, ang Metro Manila has actually the biggest concentration of votes of any region. Pero historically, it has never gone for a particular party or candidate. Bakit po?
Actually, pag titingnan natin ang Metro Manila, yung National Capital Region, even in the past, it's a very unpredictable, it's very free, parang free zone yan eh. It's a free zone, no? So, walang particular candidate na tinitingnan, walang particular party na tinitingnan, parang it's a free area. And I think in that sense, NCR should really be an interesting area for the candidates to work on. So, parang zona libre, marami dito yung mga middle class nag-iisip, no? Marami din dito yung mga with the migration ng maraming kababayan natin mula sa probinsya na pumunta sa Metro Manila. Hindi naman yan basta pwedeng mabili, napaka-critical, no? And I would say, except for 1 or 2 areas na pwede nating sabihin in the past, merong balita ng vote buying. Ngayong panahon na ito, I think sobrang nakikiramdam, nagsusuri ang ating mga botante sa NCR.
Pero Attorney Trixie, nabanggit mo kanina, wala masyadong karahasang nagaganap sa probinsya. Maybe because the PNPs are very vigilant ngayong panahon ito. But are you surprised that in Taguig, in the city of Manila, merong mga ganong klaseng karahasang nangyayari?
yes, because ang Metro Manila, matindi ang media glare dyan. It's very easy na ma-report. People are wired. Lalabas yan sa internet, lalabas yan sa mass media. So yung incidents ng election-related violence within these urbanized areas ay nakakagulat. Either in the temerity na mangyayari yan so close to the capital region and or the desperation. So
Din Edna, yung inyong mga political analysts, yung mga guru natin, lagi tayong na-interview time of elections. Pero aside from getting interviewed for your views, sa tingin niyo po ba, meron po bang influence yung akademya ng buong bansa, ng Pilipinas in general? Kasi meron tayong mga academic centers all over. Is the academe a voice in the electoral process?
I think one of the biggest contributions ng academe, yung pagbibigay ng pagsusuri, batay sa aking karanasan at karanasan din ng ilang academics, may feedback kasi ang mga tao no? And we always get the feedback na nagsasabi, tama ho yung sinabi nyo, o maganda ho, may ganitong opinion. So, ibig sabihin, nag-aambag ito, ang mga pagsusuri nila ay nag-aambag dun sa paano pipili ng botante, ng kandidato, ang mga botante, paano titingnan yung sitwasyon, at mukha namang meron ding ambag dun sa balancing ng sitwasyon, no? I think the academics are trying to be as objective as possible, pero paligay ko kailangan niya ng mga kababayan natin para mabalanse yung temperament.
That's right.
Para mabalanse din yung pagtingin sa kandidato at pagtingin sa environment politika. So sa aking palagay, and I'm very happy na yung ating media ay patuloy na ini-engage yung mga academics na ganito.
That's good. Ang isang, siyempre, wala po tayong akademya kung wala po estudyante. Itong ating mga estudyante sa mga universidad, napakaingay. We have to look back into yung experience ni Senator Miriam Santiago when she challenged FVR for that presidential election. Napakalakas nung student base niya. Pero ang tanong doon, pagbalik ng mga estudyante sa kanilang mga komunidad, baka ma-influensyahan pa rin nung family vote or yung community vote. Sa tingin mo ba, Attorney Trixie, nandun pa rin kasolid yung ating mga tinatawag na yung mga nag-i-impluensya or yung mga padre de pamilya o mga barangay captain doon sa mga komunidad that actually trumps yung conditioning or yung group think in the academe kung habang nandun pa yung mga estudyante?
Ang tingin ko dyan, it depends on the involvement dun sa estudyante, no? Kung ang estudyante ay nag-volunteer for a particular candidate or party, di mai-influensyahan yung boto niya by that particular party or candidate. If wala, then the family will of course trump any other influences. Is there a youth vote? I'd like to think so. When we were younger, we did have some kind of a voice. Ang Pilipinas, mayaman ng kasaysayan natin ng partisipasyon ng mga bata. Kesa digmaan man o sa eleksyon, the youth has always made a difference. So, kahit hindi pa ito na-reduce into numbers talaga, every election is different, no? So, for example, there's certain candidates na nagre-resonate talaga sa youth at nadadala yon. So for the classic case in point would be Chis Escudero, the likes of Sonny Trillanes, because they represent something away from the norm.
Okay.
So may youth vote sila.
Din, itong election na daw na ito, kapag nahalal nga po itong mga bagong congressman, marahil ito na daw po yung pinakamaraming magkakapareho yung apelyido or coming from traditional political families compared to all the other congresses in the past. Sa tingin niyo po ba, with the list of senators na talagang galing sa certain families, are you seeing a reaction coming from the people to form stronger political parties para mabigyan ng pagkakataon yung hindi kasama dun sa mga pamilyang nito? Is that a natural reaction you're seeing?
Actually, if you go back to our constitution, yung spirit kasi ng banning political, if you look at it more positively, the other side is, let's develop candidates who will form themselves together in a political party. In other words, the way to counter political dynasty is to form political parties na magsasama-sama yung kandidato na naniniwala sa isang agenda, sa isang platform, at ihayag nila yung kanilang sarili, ihain ang kanilang sarili through a political competition. So ito kasi yung esensya. I think sa ngayon, mayroon akong nakikita na ilang trend na, and again, that's coming from the young people, mix and match ulit yung posibleng labasan ng kasalukuyang election, no? With our young people who are idealists, who are hoping for change, mukhang merong inclination na hindi naman talagang bumoto na yung mga nasa traditional names lang ng political families or clans. So ako, I'm optimistic the youth will bring change. Yung mga ilang kombinasyon ng young people in Congress is a product of the changes that we want to see sa ating pamahalaan. So sa akin, the challenge continues to be thrown na sana mas may maraming tumakbo na naniniwala sa isang agenda. At paligay ko, ini-embrace natin yung ganitong challenge. Makikita natin sa resulta ng election ngayon kung talagang may bagong pangalan na lalabas. At kahit naman yung mga merong parehong pangalan, yung dati ng pangalan na lumilitaw, pero kung may sinisimbolo sila ng pagbabago,
Good.
I think our voters are open-minded, are starting to open their minds on this.
Oo, meron siyempre question in political history na repression is better than legislation in effecting change. Ano? Pero Attorney Trixie, pag-usapan natin yung dynamic between national and local. Napakalaki ng function ng gobyerno devolve sa local politicians natin or sa local leaders natin. Gaano kahalaga na pumili tayo ng mas magagaling na managers on the local level?
Well, of course, it's always necessary. Kasi ang tingin natin sa mga leaders natin, hindi lang leaders, bringing us from point A to point B, but managing everything in between. So, but we also know the disparity between a national office and the local office. So, somebody with a national profile, hihirapan silang tumakbo sa local level. So, whereas when it's the other way around, we see success stories. Chis Escudero, for example, was a congressman who managed to break into the national limelight. So, the opposite naman is much more difficult. Of course, the exception might be former President Estrada, who goes from a national profile to a local one, albeit in the city of Manila.
We'll see. Hindi pa po natin alam yung magiging resulta yan. It's a heavyweight fight in the city of Manila. We would like to thank Attorney Trixie for joining us this morning. Napakaganda po yung kanyang insights na binahagi sa atin. Dean Edna will be staying on for interviews in the coming hour. Patuloy po ang pagmamanman ng ating eleksyon sa araw na ito. Sana po marami na sa atin ang nakaboto.